Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Today I'll be making a sweet potato pie. First, we'll make the crust. We'll need 2 cups of flour, a little bit of salt, really just a pinch, now we'll get out 2 sticks of frozen unsalted butter. I'm using a cheese grater today, and I'm just going to grate these. You'll notice some bigger chunks of butter in here, and that's because once I got to the end of the stick, I just used a knife to cut it the rest of the way. Now take a knife and make sure to scrape out anything left over in the grater. We'll mix our flour a little bit and then add the butter. Now you want to use your hands to mix it all together. You also want to press the butter into the flour to make sure they fuse together. Once I'm done mixing everything in, I'll pour in half a cup of ice cold water. During this process, whenever you wash your hands, make sure to wash them in cold water so it doesn't heat up the butter. We want the butter to stay as cold as possible. Okay, this is what it should look like when it's done. Now I'll just lightly knead the dough together, just enough to form it into a ball. Well, more like an almost circular thing. Now I'm going to use this tool, I don't know what it's called, probably a dough cutter or something, to cut the dough in half. If you don't need this, you can just use a knife. Now I'll shape these 2 into circles. Now go ahead and wrap them in plastic wrap and leave in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 hours. I actually put mine in the freezer and made my pie on a separate day. If you do that, put it in the fridge to defrost the day before. Let them sit out of the fridge for 30 minutes before using them. Okay, now let's make our pie filling. I just washed my sweet potatoes, so I'm giving them a quick dry. You can put them in on 350s or 400. They do take a while to cook. It'll be an hour to an hour and a half. If you're not sure if they're done, you can take a knife and just poke the biggest one. If the knife goes through it no issue and it feels mushy, you'll be done. Make sure to cover them with aluminum foil before you put them in the oven. Okay, our sweet potatoes are done and now it's time to peel them. They were actually extremely hot and I didn't feel like waiting for them to cool down, so I definitely burned my hands a bit. Here's what one fully peeled sweet potato looks like. After peeling the rest, we'll mash it up with a spoon. Now we'll use a hand mixer to make sure it gets smooth and to make sure everything mixes in properly. I'll put in 3/4 of a stick of unsalted butter, room temperature to make sure it mixes in easily, which I didn't do. We'll add sugar, light brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla extract. When it comes to the sugar and other add-ins, I pretty much just season to taste. If you're like me and don't like it that sweet, don't use a ton of sugar. You can taste it before you put in the eggs to get it just right. Make sure to frequently scrape down the bowl. Now add in 3 eggs one at a time, mixing between each add. Now add some condensed milk. You can add it little by little to make sure you don't put too much. Alright, now we'll roll out our dough. Add some dry flour to the space you're using to roll it out. What I'm doing here is pinching the dough together if I notice any cracks. Every now and then I'll add flour, pick it up and flip it around, or switch the angle just to make sure it doesn't stick. Once again, you can always pinch it or push it back together if it starts to fall apart or crack. Okay, the dough is done, so we'll add it to our pie pan. Now I have a bunch of excess dough, so I'm going to cut it off. You can do this with a knife, scissors, pretty much anything. And there you have it, our dough is done. Now let's add in our filling. Evenly spread everything out, and then it'll be ready to go into the oven. I usually bake on 350 degrees until I notice it browning at the top. I learned from my mother that if it's not browning at the top, it's not done. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.